Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Gio and I'm here for a new video to bring you the latest AC Milan news and rumors. Now, lots of news to talk about as usual today. Players that we've been linked to, as well as several things I want to speak about regarding the Trofeo TIM, which will be starting in just a few hours. Now, once again, first of all, yesterday it was reported that Berlusconi and the Chinese had agreed to spend another 15 million euros in this particular transfer market. Now, this is obviously very great news because for a very long period of time, we thought that this summer transfer window was not going to be funded by anyone, and we would have to strictly rely on either sales of potentially either Di Chio or Bacca has the highest of the financial values. But now that Berlusconi and the Chinese have agreed to spend this other 15 million euros in this transfer market, this is very good news because we need money. We can't just wait in order to see if we could sell one of these players. And what happens if we don't manage to sell one of these players? We will be forced to stay back and pretty much not invest in anyone. So this is obviously very great news. I was very happy when I read this particular statement by several sources. And this morning, or early last night, it was reported that Milan had shown their interest in a 19-year-old Boca Juniors midfielder. His name is Rodrigo Bentancur. Now, I've seen videos from him. I never seen him play in a live match, of course, but from what I saw in these videos is that he's a very skillful player. A player that is quick. He's does a lot of tricks, skillful as I mentioned, and he has a very good vision. Most importantly, because that is what we need in our midfield. We can't have certain players that simply cannot put two passes together, and I'm sure that last season you guys witnessed a lot of this. We weren't able to see these players that were able to dictate a play, for example. And many times our forwards were actually slacking due to their inability to actually support them. Therefore, it's important that we go after these young players, players that are skillful, that could stay at the club for a long time and could obviously do very well in the long run as well. We can't just see at the short term, but we also have to look at the long term, what these players that are coming in, what they could bring to the club. And I think from what I saw that Bentancur could be a very good example of the type of player that we need for our midfield. As I said, he's young. He doesn't have that much experience. Maybe coming into the Serie A right away at that age is going to be a bit of a challenge, but, you know, he's going to have to start somewhere, and I think Milan could be a very good opportunity for him. Now, it seems that reports are actually saying that it is a done deal, Bentancur to Milan, and apparently the transfer fee is 15 million euros. Like I've mentioned before, 15 million euros, the sum of money that Berlusconi and the Chinese agreed to use in this transfer window. Now, it's not completely done, however, because obviously there's no official statement from Milan just yet. And the only thing that's really getting in the way at the moment is Juventus, because they have the priority. Pretty much what happened was that when they sold Tevez, or when Tevez went to Boca Juniors, there was something included in the clause that they had priority in signing I think it was 2 or 3 players from Boca Juniors, young players. If they wanted to sign them in the future, they would just have to pay the transfer fee, and they could arrive at Juventus. So at the moment, I believe that Bentancur was originally valued at 10 million euros. Therefore, Milan offered 15. So we are in the lead at the moment. And if Juventus don't feel like matching our offer, or they simply are not interested in it, then Bentancur will become an official Milan player. In my opinion, I think it will happen just the same. Maybe the official announcement could even come in just a few hours. But I believe that Milan signing these young players is definitely a step going forward. And if you look at it, Milan has spent a lot of time in South America in terms of searching for players in that region for the summer transfer window. Already with the signing of Vanjoni or Gustavo Gomez, now they're looking to add a third name to that list. And this is maybe a different strategy that Milan is trying to approach at the moment. I think that, like I mentioned, this is a very good thing, bringing young players to the team that could potentially do very well. Maybe not really start off on the right foot, but you have to look at it as a long-term goal. So I believe that if the scouting was done right, these players could excel at Milan. Now, let's move on to talk about the CEO Fassone, because once again, like I mentioned a few days ago, Fassone will become Milan's CEO, the new CEO, in just a few months. We actually don't know the exact date in which this is going to happen, but one thing is for sure, he will become the new CEO. And apparently Galliani will be offered an advisory role at Milan. What that means is that maybe they will look towards him when they need a piece of advice, just in terms of anything. And this could be a good role for Galliani after so many years of work at Milan. Maybe it's time to relax a bit. But in my opinion, chances are that Galliani won't actually accept this role of becoming an advisor for the Milan management, as he had this big responsibility for many years. Maybe he wants something with an equal responsibility. And I've actually read that he might actually become, or actually try to elect himself as the president of the Lega Serie A. Of course, if you guys don't know, he is the vice president already of that. So this could be a very good move for him if he decides to step down from club football in general as any role. Now, I've read also that if Galliani doesn't accept this role, there is the big possibility that former players could return and have a position at the club. Now, we mentioned this a few days ago. I remember someone asked me a question regarding Maldini and what I thought of him possibly coming back to Milan to have a role in the management. And I think that is great. Berlusconi didn't give the opportunity to former players to actually express themselves and have a role at Milan. But now under these new investors, the Chinese investors, these former players could actually have an opportunity to feature in the club and feature in their decision making. So this is great. Now, the names that have been included are Albertini, Maldini, and Costa Curta, all former Milan players, of course. Now, Albertini would most probably take the general manager role, as he has more experience, of course, in that sector, while Maldini or Costa Curta will take the club manager role. So this is very positive news. Once again, it seems like finally the pieces are starting to come back together for Milan, not only in terms of actually making transfers happen, but also in terms of the management. They want to rebuild this management for the best. They want to give that faith to the fans, the faith that they deserve and that they didn't have for the past few years under Berlusconi. So once again, this is a very good approach from the Chinese investors to actually acknowledge and think about bringing back these former players to have a say in the team, in the club, in their decision making, and so forth. Now, guys, of course, don't forget to leave your comments down below. I want to know what you guys think about these news so far. There's obviously going to be other news in just a few moments, but we're going to take a break and start reading some comments from you guys already. as you guys are obviously starting to send them in already. So this is great. Starting off with Nikesh today, he says, what about Cuadrado? Of course, Cuadrado is still an option in my books. From the last time I saw Milan, it's their priority to sign Cuadrado. However, if they don't sell Bacca or De Sciglio, chances are we won't get to Cuadrado. Chelsea are demanding 30 million euros for him. We all know that. So simply the 15 million euros won't be enough to go after Cuadrado. And I think this approach of going after young players that have potential and are skillful, like I just mentioned with Bentancur, this is the kind of approach that we need. We need young talent inside the team, young, hungry talent, more importantly. So, Cuadrado still remains an option, but as for now, it seems that Milan have this 15 million euros to allocate towards a player, and they want to focus that on the midfield. So that is why they're going after Bentancur. Michele Mancini says, I think we're trying to replicate a Kaká Thiago type of deal, and that's pretty good. I think so too. I mean, once again, they're really going after these South American talents now. Milan had a pretty good history with them, so why not go back to those roots and get these talents? I think, once again, they could do very well. Pietro Marsala says, if we end up selling Bacca, I don't think Zaza would be a good replacement. How do you feel about these rumors? Yeah, personally, I don't see Zaza as a good replacement for Bacca. But in my opinion, I will be speaking about Bacca really soon. I think that Bacca will remain at the club after all. I don't see him leaving. Today will be a big test for him, as he will be featuring in the Trofeo TIM, which I will be talking about in just a few moments. But personally, I just don't see Zaza as a good replacement for him. Let's see some more videos. Comments about you. Okay, sorry guys, there's a lot of comments and I'm trying to filter out what's interesting here. Dr. Carl Jerome says, hello there, where in the midfield do you see Rodrigo Bentancur play, and whose place in the current team? As I mentioned before, Bentancur, he's a midfielder. He's young, he's 19 years old. I don't know if he's going to get a starting role right away. I mean, you're judging if you're getting a player for 15 million euros, you're thinking that he's probably going to start in our team, but that is not the case. I don't know if he's going to start exactly, but he's going to be playing as a midfielder, that's for sure. I'm just doing some research here on him because, as I said before, I don't know too much about the player. I've seen him play in videos. And I've seen that he's a very strong talent. He's a center mid that could do very well at Milan. He could also play as a right mid, as a left mid. So this guy could pretty much play everywhere in the midfield. And I think that, like any other player, if he's given the opportunity, he will go out there to shine. I'm not sure what kind of player he could replace here, but it's important to have a player that he could play on any wing, on any side, on any flank, because if you need a replacement somewhere, you can put in that guy. So I think it's a very good approach to see Bentancur being linked to Milan and possibly arriving here. Devon says, what happened to the Witsel deal, as we were rumored again with him? Witsel, that's a road that is far gone. We're not linked with him anymore. He's actually close to joining Juventus, or at least I know that he's one of their targets. So nothing is happening with Witsel, but I believe that Witsel is just not a player that Milan is interested at the moment. One last question before I continue with the news. Casual Gamer says, if Bentancur arrives, he would use up that last non-European spot. If Bacca leaves, then we can still sign Cuadrado, right? If I'm not mistaken, there is actually a limit to the number of non-European players that we could sign in a given transfer window. So I'm not quite sure if Bacca leaves, we could actually go after Cuadrado. This could actually be a good possibility, but I'm not 100% sure. So yes, if Bentancur arrives, he will use up that non-European spot, but I'm not sure if Bacca leaves, that will free one up or not, or it just focuses on the number of signings that we've made in terms of non-Europeans. So let's continue with the news, guys, because there's still lots to talk about. And, speaking about Bacca, I wanted to speak a bit about him now because, his agent actually came out and he said that everything is kind of stopped for Bacca at the moment. What I mean by that is that they don't know what's going to happen with him yet. We still have about 20 days left in this transfer window. Anything could happen, of course, but no one really knows what's going to happen with Bacca. Like I mentioned before, this is going to be his first time playing today under Montella. Will he be doing well or not? I'm not quite sure, but this will give Montella an indication of what he wants. Will he want Bacca at Milan or not? I think today and the next friendly match, which I believe is on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, this is going to really dictate Montella's will of either keeping Bacca or not. Now, obviously, a lot depends on the player as well, because some reports have mentioned that Bacca has until this Friday to give West Ham a final answer. However, his agent refused to comment on such declarations. So we just don't know exactly, like I mentioned, we don't know what's going to happen with Bacca. Is he going to stay or leave? I think all depends on tonight, the friendly matches that will be played tonight and Saturday. Now, finally, I want to be speaking about this Trofeo TIM because, it's going to be featured today. It will be at 9 p.m. Italian time. So if you guys don't know exactly how that stands in your time zone, it will be in 2 hours and a half from now. The Trofeo TIM, it's a tournament that is played every year. It's friendly tournament, and this year it will feature Celta Vigo, the Spanish team, Sassuolo, and Milan. So all these teams will be facing each other in 45-minute matches, and at the end of the matches, we'll see who wins, of course. There's also a penalty shootout if the match is tied. So it's a nice little tournament to have before the season starts. I'm not too crazy about it, but it's always good to see where the team stands in these friendly games, because last time we played, North America against Liverpool, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, we faced very good opposition. We did quite well, even though the results weren't in our favor for the most part. But it's time to see how we can do against smaller teams like Sassuolo, even though they're doing very well in terms of playing wise. So we'll see what happens with that. But speaking about players in this tournament, there are some players that you guys should know about that won't feature in it. Bacca, of course, will be featuring, like I mentioned before. However, we still won't get a chance to see Lapadula. He's still out. He's suffering still from a muscular issue. Therefore, we won't get a chance to see Lapadula feature in this tournament. And reports are actually saying that he might return for the Napoli match, and that is the second week of the Serie A. Therefore, we might not even see him for the opening match against Torino, and this is not a good sign. We paid money for him. We want to see what he could bring to the table, and therefore this could be even another reason as to why Bacca might actually stay rather than leave, because without Lapadula being able to actually play in these opening matches, we're going to need a striker that could guarantee something, and that name is Bacca. I just don't see Milan going out right away now trying to find a striker, even though, as I mentioned before, if we don't sell Bacca or De Sciglio, the funds won't be there. The only funds we have is the 15 million euros that we will be spending on Bentancur. So that is it. Now, in terms of other players, Romagnoli also won't be featuring in this match. He has a minor physical issue, so he won't be playing. And as well as Donnarumma. Donnarumma is with the U21 Italian national team, as they will be playing in a friendly match against Albania. Now, for the next 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I will be reading some more comments from you guys. So if you have any questions regarding today's news, send them in. I'll be reading them. I can't really read them all and answer them all, but I'll be reading them. Devon Samuel says, last video you said you will let go of De Gio instead of Bacca when we still have Luis Adriano, Niang, and Lapadula. For wingback, we only have him, Abate, and Antonelli. No, we actually have other options. There is, of course, Vanjoni that we just signed. There's Calabria. So there's other options out there. It's not like we're very limited. If not, we're actually pretty covered in terms of fullbacks. Once again, if I have to let someone go, I would let go De Gio because Bacca, once again, he gives that certainty up front. He's going to bang in the goals. He's going to get even more support this year. So I could definitely see him having a 20-plus goal season. Luis Adriano, good player, but once again, I'm not quite sure what kind of a role he's going to play in the season, and I'm pretty sure he won't have a vital role. Niang, of course, will probably be starting in many games, and he will be doing well. Lapadula, like I just mentioned, he's injured, so we won't even be seeing him at least for a few weeks. So that is my little analysis on what we'll prefer between Bacca and De Gio. AD Nunzio says, how likely will you say it is to go after another center back? I'm not sure how much I trust Gustavo Gomez. This is actually something that I've mentioned the other day. You know, Gustavo Gomez will be paired up with Romagnoli, but I'm not really sure how much certainty I could put into this guy because simply I don't know much about him. I don't know if he's going to do well. We're obviously going to have to wait and see. But personally speaking, I don't think Milan will be investing in another center back this summer, even though they should. I think the priority at the moment is to look at the midfield because this is what they want to reinforce. It's been pretty weak in recent years, so that is where they want to reinforce. I just don't see Milan trying to sign another center back, at least for now. Maybe in the winter when the 100 million come in, they will sign him then. But I simply don't see it happening right now to sign another player, another center back. Alvin says, I heard that Bentancur is more of a regista. If he gets into the starting lineup, hopefully he is replacing Montolivo. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's a regista or not, but he has a very good vision. Apparently, he was very instrumental to many successes for Boca Juniors last season. Even though he didn't score any goals, I believe, he still did very well for them. And at 19 years old, you know, you're not really expecting a player to be so instrumental like him, but that's what he did. So let's see what happens. Hopefully, we actually sign him because nothing is official yet. Until then, I won't say that he's a Milan player because we are interested in him. We are currently negotiating for him, but we haven't acquired him just yet. Andrea says, I read that Galliani went to Ibiza and met Raiola and that we might be in contract talks with Bonaventura and transfer for the Ajax defender Tete. What do you think? I personally didn't hear about that. I heard about the meeting with Raiola, but I didn't hear about the transfer of Tete. I think that it would be a decent signing for Milan if he actually does arrive. But at the moment, there's no actual confirmation from any reliable sources that Milan are actually going after him. Milan Butch says, do you think our young players have had a disappointing preseason compared to other young players from other teams who have sparkled? To be honest, I haven't really seen any other preseason matches. As a matter of fact, I barely watched any Milan preseason matches in July because many of you probably know I was on vacation for the past month and the matches were like at 3-4 a.m. over there. So I really couldn't even watch the matches, and that is why I had Adamo and Marco do the reviews. So I really didn't see our young players in action, and little that I see about other young players from other teams. So I wouldn't really be able to answer that question. Nikesh says, is Lapadula reliable? Will Suso be sold? Lapadula, of course, he was the top scorer in the Serie B, but now the shift to the Serie A, we have to see how he performs in the Serie A. Is he reliable? You know, I can't just say he's going to have a 15 to 20 goal season. You're kind of expecting that from him after scoring. I think he scored like almost 30 goals last season in the Serie B. But it all depends on how he's used, how he adapts to the Serie A, because Serie A and Serie B are two different things. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens for Lapadula. As for Suso, I believe that he will not be sold because, of course, Montella is very interested in the player. Suso wants to stay. He's excited to be part of this new team. So I think that Suso will remain as well. I believe that he won't be sold. We're going to close it off here with another question or two from you guys. Diego says, will the club get anything from the Trofeo team? Maybe they might get some money from it, but it's nothing crazy. So, you know, it's just a friendly tournament. It's nothing to be really excited about. I'm going to read one more question from you guys. I know you're sending so many in, and sometimes it's very hard to see these questions. Aniket says, just read that Milan requested information on Marko Rog of Dynamo Zagreb. He's a midfielder. I read that too. I just read that, by the way. Yes, Marko Rog. I think he was actually a player that we were interested beforehand. It's just not been something as of late. I think we've actually been interested in him in the past when we were speaking about Marco Piazza. So yeah, Marko Rog is another great talent from Dynamo. I think he's a great midfielder that could come into the Serie A and shine. But we'll have to see about that. Once again, the 15 million euros that will most likely be used for Bentancur, those are the funds that we're going to have in this summer transfer window. So maybe a name to consider for the winter. I just don't see him as of now, but he will definitely be a great talent to see come to AC Milan. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's live stream of the latest AC Milan news. I will also have another live stream after the Trofeo team ends. So once again, if you guys are just coming into the live stream, Milan will be featuring in the Trofeo team in just about 2 hours and a half. It's a friendly tournament. We will be playing against Celta Vigo as well as Sassuolo. So I will be having a live stream following this tournament to review the matches and give my opinion on the players' performances and so forth. So make sure to subscribe to Rossoneri TV to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan on a daily basis. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys later. This has been Gio signing off. And as always, Forza Milan.